Hello everyone, welcome back to In the Studio with me, Donny Carr. While we're on the topic of vocals, I thought I'd share a couple more tips regarding vocals and the arrangement, some things that you can do to keep things interesting, spice things up, just some general ear candy style techniques. So let's dive right in. This is the vocal that we're going to work with today.
Let me catch my breath.
My apologies, it's a little bit cheeseball, but I think it will work great for the video here today. So that's the vocal. Just no processing right now. It's just sent through a small reverb. So, okay. The first thing I want to talk about is how you can make a fake double. Now, I actually did a video on this a while back, so I'll put that up there if you want to go check that out. In that video, I used Newtone to accomplish this, and we're going to take a different approach here today. So this really isn't a ear candy technique. The rest of them are. This is just how to create a thicker pseudo chorus effect with a fake double. So what I'm going to do is just make a copy of this vocal. I'm just going to clone that.
Let me catch my breath.
Pull it into the arrange page here. And so what makes a great vocal double is it needs to be very, very similar but slightly different. So if you think about an actual vocalist singing a double, there's just going to be slight changes in the pitch, slight variations on the timings, subtle differences. Even the greatest vocalist in the world isn't going to sing the same phrase exactly the same twice. So what we're going to do is make some small changes to the timing, to the pitch, and maybe even like give it a little bit of a fluctuation in the volume to create the double. So the first thing I'm going to do is just drop this to none. I'm going to switch this to stretch here. I'm going to pull this out slightly. So we're just going to stretch that out ever so slightly so the timing is a little bit different here. Let's have a listen to those two together.
Let me catch my breath.
What I'm also going to do is put this copy that I made on its own mixer insert.
Let me catch my breath. 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 Let me catch my breath.
I think that will do there. A kind of a good general rule of thumb here is, you don't have to stretch it like I have here. You can just manually nudge it over a little bit. You can use some plugins. You can, I would say 20 to 40 milliseconds thereabouts is kind of the range you want to be in, I think, for this. But you can do it in any number of ways. But I'm just going to slightly stretch it out here. The next thing, you know what? I'm going to back up a little bit. If I was doing this for real, I would most likely have some processing on this vocal here. So let's say that this is, like my main vocal. There would definitely be some EQ going on, maybe cut out the rumble, maybe a little bit of top end lift, maybe some subtle compression here, or heavy compression, depending on the vocal.
Let me catch my breath.
Go ahead and mute that copy for a second.
Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath.
It's gonna roughly match the volumes.
Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath.
Okay. So yeah, let's just say if I was doing this for real, what I would do is copy, the channel settings, the channel strip settings onto my copy or my fake double, because we want it to be very similar, but slightly different. Different enough to get the doubling effect, but if you make it too different, then you're not going to get that doubling effect. So that's what I would do first, is I would copy over the settings from the original vocal. So that's done. We have it slightly stretched out now, so the timing slightly different. That's what we want. The next thing I'm going to do is add the pitcher plugin here, and what we're going to do is give it a very slow retune speed, and that's going to give it a little bit of a variation in the pitch. So I know for a fact, because I had a little listen before I started filming this, that this vocal is in B minor. So I'm going to swap this to B minor here, and I'm going to give this a fairly slow retune speed, and then I'm going to kick this over to the female. Let's have a listen to that.
Let me catch my breath.
Not bad.
Let me catch my breath.
Yeah, and that's just going to give a little bit of variation in the pitch. So that's perfect, but it's not like overly obvious. The next thing I might do, or something that you can do here, is maybe give it just a little bit of fluctuation in the volume. Give it like a little bit of a vibrato. So I might just use the Tremolator plugin from Sound Toys. I'm just going to keep it on an 1/8. You can experiment with the timings and whatnot, but I'm just going to give this a little tickle of this Tremolator here.
Let me catch my breath.
Yeah.
Let me catch my breath.
Cool. And then I can maybe pan this over to the left a little bit. I'll pan the original over to the right a little bit.
Let me catch my breath. 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 Let me catch my breath.
And they're both going through that same small chamber reverb here.
Let me catch my breath.
There you go. And that's how to make a fake double. And then what I would probably do if I was doing this for real is make 2 doubles and keep the original vocal in the center and pan the other ones left and right. But just wanted to show you how you can make a fake double using a different method that I showed you in the last video, or the last vocal double video. Okay, so let's move on. The next thing I want to show you is how to make the classic telephone EQ effect. So this is a pretty, well-used technique, but in the right place, in the right track, at the right time, can be very interesting. I like to use this style of effect maybe in an intro section when I'm maybe just introducing a sound, and this is something that I do sometimes, not just on vocals, but like on a synth part or something like that. I'll just give it kind of a brittle kind of mid-range bandpass EQ, and really scoop out all the low end and a lot of the top end, and maybe accentuate some of the mid frequencies just to kind of tease it in a little bit. So, but it's something that you can do with vocals as well. So on this vocal track here, I'm going to add another EQ, and I'm just going to scoop out all the lows. I'm going to scoop out all the tops and kind of make a thin, brittle sound.
Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath.
And then I'm going to just really accentuate and boost some of these mid frequencies, so maybe around that 16, 17
Let me catch my breath.
1700 area.
Let me catch my breath.
Yeah, that's fine for now. And then what you can do to kind of accentuate this even more is maybe add like a bit crushing plugin. So I'm going to grab this little gravel plug that I've used a couple times on this channel. Just reduce the bit depth, maybe to around 8 bits or so. Kind of dirty it up, make it a little bit more lo-fi.
Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my...
Cool. And then maybe add a little bit more aggressive compressor even after, you know, this compressor here. So I'm just going to grab, sometimes I like to use this one, this SE version for vocals, so this might be a good one to use.
Let me catch my breath. 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 Let me catch my breath.
Sorry about that.
Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath.
So yeah, there we go. That's the vocal telephone EQ effect. I'm gonna go ahead and take these off. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is a like spun delay effect. So I'm sure you all know that something that's you know, very common to do because it works is to automate in a delay when there's a gap in a vocal phrase. You know, just to kind of fill that space, keep things interesting. So that's what we're going to do here, but we're going to apply some additional effects to the delay return track. So, excuse me. Sorry about that. What we're going to do here is I'm going to grab this track here, this delay, and throw free delay 2 on here. I might just go for, I'll just leave it on the 8th dotted. We'll push up the volume here. Let's make it a ping pong. Pan it a little bit over here. So we get a little bit of back and forth going on. We'll pull the dry signal all the way down. We don't need the dry signal for this. And let's just create a automation clip. There we go. So let's say, you know, this is our vocal phrase, and then we have a nice little gap here that we want to fill before it loops back over, just for the example. So let's say I just want to add a little delay to this last word here. So I'm just going to kick that up a little bit.
Let me catch my breath.
Let's take this EQ off.
Let me catch my breath. Let me...
Okay, so that's maybe in some cases that's all you need. You don't need to take it any further. But a lot of times I find that adding some additional processing and effects, at least in my style music, on the actual delay send can really take that little, you know, delay effect and help it poke out in the mix and just be more interesting. So over here on our delay track, I'm going to, there's a number of things that you can do here. You can try, this could be a cool place to try that telephone EQ effect that I just showed you on the actual delay itself, instead of on the actual, you know, on the insert. But I'm not going to do that because I just showed you that. Let's maybe try some like hard auto tune. So I'm going to grab the pitcher plugin again, and I'll turn it to our B minor. And I mean, and you could even like take out notes here, which is something interesting to do too if you want to exclude certain notes. But we'll just leave it like it is. So I'm going to try a really fast retune speed.
Let me catch my breath.
Okay. Nah, I'm not really feeling the fast retune speed on this. Maybe I'll just go for a medium.
Let me catch my breath.
It's not bad.
Let me catch my breath.
And there's all sorts of other things you can do. I mean, maybe that could be it. You can don't be afraid to stack effects. You can try, distortion, saturation, character plugins, drive, you name it. Possibilities are endless. So let's try maybe some drive here. So I'm gonna use this little guy here, the Blood Overdrive.
Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath.
I like that. Kind of brings out some of those low levels. Gives a little bit of a rougher edge to that delay. And then what we can also do is add actually some reverb here and put this delay in its own little unique space. So on things like this, on like little effect swirls and stuff, a lot of times I like to maybe play with the diffusion and create, just like a different kind of shape here with the space. Maybe try like a triangle here. This kind of gives it a lot of times just some interesting tones you get. Pull that out wide. And maybe mix this in around 30–40% or so.
Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath.
So there you go, yeah. The spun delay echo effect, very useful for filling little gaps in the phrases or to tail off a word or phrase leading into a breakdown or a transition or whatever. So there we go. That's that one sorted. I'm going to go ahead and pull this automation down. We don't want to hear that anymore. The next thing is just a simple reverb accent. So a lot of times it's quite interesting to pick one word, one little snippet of the vocal, one small phrase, and send that through a big reverb. Just to keep things spicy in the arrangement. But instead of using a hall or a plate or a room reverb, sometimes it's quite nice to try a convolution reverb and run it through a really odd space. So let's grab the Fruity Convolver here and let's automate the wet level here. So I'm just going to create an automation clip here. And we'll just, for the example, say we want to accentuate this last word here. We'll just automate that up here. And let's try just some weird spaces. So I mean they have like all kinds of stuff in here, like a forest, a stairwell, there's even like there's tunnel, toilet bowl. Let's try a tunnel.
Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath.
So that's kind of cool.
Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath.
That was
Let
quite
me
subtle.
catch my breath. Let me 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 catch my breath.
So yeah, this is worth experimenting with, but don't be afraid to try some interesting impulse response type reverbs in really odd spaces rather than just grabbing the tried and true room or plate or hall or even a chamber reverb. Experiment with some convolution type reverbs. So thought I'd share that with you. This next technique I think is quite quite interesting. So I have this secondary vocal here.
Let me catch my breath.
So to do this technique, what you need is two different takes of the same phrase. So if you're lucky enough to work with a vocalist, then you're going to have, excuse me, probably many takes of, the same thing. So there's going to be lots of bits that you don't end up using, or you can just record them yourself. I happen to find, two of the same phrase in this little vocal sample pack here.
Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath.
So they need to be different, but they need to be somewhat similar. They need to be the same phrase, but they need to be different. So what we're going to do here is take this secondary vocal, which is on this track here, and I'm going to run this through a larger reverb. So currently these vocals have been running through this kind of small chamber setting. So I'm going to go ahead and mute that one for now, and I'm going to enable this larger concert hall reverb. So what I want to do here is take that secondary vocal and unroute it from the master. So I have all these sent over here to these auxiliary tracks and then the dry track here. So on the dry track, I'm going to pull this all the way down. So all we're going to hear is the reverb. Which is exactly what we want. So let's say, for instance, that this vocal that we've been working with is the main vocal of the track. What you can do is use a secondary take that maybe you didn't end up using and unroute that from your master, or pull the volume all the way down, and then use a pre-fader send to an auxiliary track with a reverb on it, like we've done here. And then on this one, our original vocal, I'm going to pull the reverb all the way down. So essentially what we're doing is taking this secondary vocal, running it through a reverb. So this reverb here is essentially being treated with reverb, but from this vocal, which is slightly different. So you can hear the effect here.
Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath.
Which I think, in this case, it's quite noticeable, but if the takes are very similar, then the effect is quite subtle. But in the right track, in the right, with all the right elements around it, I think this could be quite interesting. In this particular case, I think I might just give this main vocal a little bit of that reverb, but have the majority of the reverb coming from that secondary vocal, which we're only hearing the reverb from.
Let me catch my breath.
Yeah.
Let me catch my breath.
So that could be something that you can try to just really create an interesting sound. So I thought that you might find these tips useful. I hope that you did. And that's going to be it for today. So yeah, leave me a comment or question, and I'll catch you soon. Love to hear from everyone. So catch you later. See ya. Hold on one second before you go. One last thing. These techniques that we've been working on here today, these are things that you probably want to use sparingly. Maybe some of these might sound good on one track, maybe not so good on another track. Just don't go crazy with them. Restraint. Cheers.